But man, this guy loves all the stuff. He loves being a rock star. It's an invention. Dude, you're addicted to the money. You're addicted to the stuff. You're addicted to the flights, the planes, the going everywhere, and everybody cheers you. You're addicted to all the things. I don't care what anybody says. So that's what it is. It's the human nature side of stuff. Who wouldn't be? You're the Churchill you think in your mind of today. But somewhere along the line, you've lost the plot for sure.
Zelensky over the weekend said that nobody wants peace more than he and the Ukrainians. They want to see an end to the fighting, that they're fighting for the survival of their country, but that the key thing for Ukraine right now is getting security guarantees about what happens next after a peace agreement, that they cannot be at risk of another invasion and threat from Russia.
Which is totally fine. We can all agree. I don't want him to invade again. We need this thing to come to an end. We do. He spoke a little bit earlier. Did himself a TikTok, if you will, because again, he's hip.
I'm
grateful to President Trump for his sincere interest in our common opportunities, in how we can bring real peace together. It was a long conversation. We discussed many nuances, diplomatic, military, economic, and President Trump informed me of what Putin had told him. We believe that America's strength is enough to push Russia and Putin to peace together with us, together with all our partners.
We should want peace. Too many people have died. The struggle is too real there. They do not have the thing that matters most in a war of attrition, manpower. We can give them all the weapons we want, but if nobody can pull the trigger, it doesn't matter. And I said it again. Look, is there ways of doing diplomacy? That was as much for everybody else as it was for Zelensky. He was agitated. He wouldn't shut up. The only thing you need to do is bring a pen and sign that thing. We're not going to blow up our business in your country. But you want American boots on the ground, it ain't going to happen. And if the Brits want to play the game, knock yourself out. I've said this all along. Dude, I don't care if you guys fight to every last person. I just don't want to pay for it. I don't want to pay for it. And you guys have already done enough. You've showed everybody they're a paper tiger. You've showed everybody that you guys are badass. You guys stood there. I mean, you deserve all the respect. I don't care what kind of weapons you have. The fact that you were out there doing it, the fact that you were out there fighting it, that somebody needs to do that. But it's over. And it's time to move on. It's over. And the Europeans are like, well, we're going to have a coalition. We're going to put it all together, but we still need America.
We must proceed with strength. And that does now require urgently a coalition of the willing.
Oh, a coalition of the willing. That's Keir Starmer there. Coalition of the willing. Okay. So how does the world feel about this? Well, the Europeans have a lot more worry than we do when it comes to this. We're not worried about Russia invading us. We're not. We got our own issues here. But even here, there's no doubt. People are looking around saying, hey, okay, it was okay for a while. But while is up, and it's time to look around, and you're not as popular as you once were.
Holy Toledo. Look at this trend line here. U.S. support for Ukraine is too much. Back when the war began, back in February of 2022, it was just 7%. Up like a rocket ship. My goodness. Up now in February of 2025 to 41%. And the clear majority of Republicans, and of course Republicans are in charge of the U.S. government now, 62% of Republicans say that the U.S. support for Ukraine is too much. What a difference from just 3 years ago. I can remember all those backyards in the United States with those Ukrainian flags. Far fewer of them today, as Americans' opinions on Ukraine have changed dramatically.
It's not about, and this is not about the Ukrainian people, it's not about the Russian people. Okay, we don't want to see more war. This is business. Business, you know what? In the world that they live in, you're going to do business with people that may not be the best people to do business with in your life. But on the global side, it's what you got to do. We do business every day with China. China's awful. They have 2 million people enslaved. The Uyghurs, 2 million of them enslaved. Probably making you some socks right now. That's what they have, 2 million people. And that's just a group of people. You think about all of the other stuff that they do. Yet we do business with them. Why wouldn't we want to do business with Russia and maybe drive a wedge or make it neutral for them in China and Iran? It's just business. But this business is about peace as much as anything else. My goodness me. Well, they don't care. And again, it's not about whether or not you care about these people. I don't want to see anybody die. It is awful to watch. It is horrible. I have seen too much of it. But it's time for everybody to go, all right, we got to do something else. We got to move on.
Feelings towards Zelensky have changed also dramatically. Look at this. Confident Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs. Back in 2022, it was the clear majority, 72% through the floor. Through the floor by 2024, just 48% of Americans say that they're confident that Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs. And GOP confidence has also plummeted dramatically. Now the clear majority of Republicans are not confident that Zelensky will do the right thing when it comes to world affairs.
And the thing to do is to step away. It's time. Dude, you can go win your Nobel Peace Prizes all day, or whatever they've got out there for you. You can go get some sort of humanitarian Nelson Mandela Man of the Year. I don't know, the NFL Man of the Year, whatever they want to give you. You can travel around the world, right? You can do Q&As for $1 million. You can still have all of the stuff, all of the trappings of the things you have now. It's not going to have the power. And your country will always look back at you gratefully. You're the guy who led us through, et cetera, et cetera. Great. Great. And that's what you should want. It was an intervention, and you've got to go, right? You got to get into therapy. You got to get away from this. It's enough. It is. And it sucks that we still have to have these conversations, because this thing should have been put to bed a long time ago. But as much as it's an intervention for him, we have to have an intervention with some of our biggies here, because they're also addicted to money, and war is good money. War is good for business. War puts food on the table for a lot of people, and a lot of donors know that. So what happens? Well, we've got a bit of an addiction too. Just like we have an addiction to oil and drugs and the whole nine yards, we got all kinds of addiction to money. And that right there is a big reason why the establishment pushes so hard. But the American people, and that's where it's really at, the American people said we've had enough. That's what Biden worried about in 2022. He talked about on a phone call, they get into a scrap, if you will, with Zelensky and him over, he acted like a child, right? Because I got a 6-year-old. I know what it's like. She gets something new, and about 2 minutes later, she wonders when she gets her next new doll. What about this one? What about that one? I want this. What about that? That's what he was like.
Yeah, that's right, Kate. So in this conversation, President Biden called President Zelensky to tell him about a roughly $1 billion package of additional equipment and weapons for the Ukrainian military coming from the United States. During the course of the call, President Zelensky continued, according to a number of officials who we spoke with who are familiar with the call, President Zelensky continued to talk about the additional equipment and weapons and support that he and his military needed. According to these officials, they said that President Biden finally just got frustrated and lost his temper and told President Zelensky, look, you could be a little bit more grateful. The reason that this story is interesting to us and is something that we are reporting on and officials are speaking to us about is because it shows that all these months ago, President Biden already realized that there was going to be a point where the American people, members of Congress, where people would start potentially pushing back on all these billions and billions of dollars of aid and equipment that the U.S. has been providing to Ukraine. And he knew that the narrative out there needed to be that the Ukrainian people and President Zelensky were grateful for it if this was the support.
And they are. But it's time to go. And thank you for the fight, and thank you for killing Russians and fighting them on the battlefield. It's all of us time to move on. And we have spent a lot of money, and you've spent a lot of life. And it's time for us to move on. We have a massive debt problem. We have a massive spending problem. We have all kinds of issues that need to be shored up here. And I'm not saying we don't take care of our allies. I'm not saying we don't take care of our friends. But at some point in time, have you heard the saying before? There's no reason to throw good money after bad money. We don't need to continue to throw money at something that the outcome is not going to change. The outcome is Russia gets a little bit more than they started with. Ukraine has to rebuild, but they'll have some peace. They'll have some safety. Everybody moves on with their life. We get some minerals from both Russia and them, and we go from there. It's not a bad deal. It isn't. But the one holding it up, no matter what he says, is him. And as much as people think he's a warmonger, no, he's an ego machine. This guy thinks he is Bono, right? Like, short of wearing sunglasses everywhere and a weird hat, he's got this sense of rock stardom that is tremendous. I mean, it's crazy. So it's time for everybody to take a deep breath and go, you need to leave, Bono. All right, go on tour somewhere else. Could you imagine the amount of money they would give him, right, Ken? I mean, the amount of money. This is so much of what it's about. The outfits, the look. Yep. It's all presented in such a way. He's got a stylist for this.
Well, and he was an entertainer in his previous life,
he gets it. Like, much like Trump, he understands.
He's very Reagan-esque in the sense that he knows how to play to an audience.
Oh, big time. Oh, big time. And he plays well. By the way, he gets that. So 100%. So, but it is time. It is time for him to go, and it's time for us to move on and to spend money elsewhere, because we still have an issue in the Middle East that isn't getting done anytime soon, and that thing could fall apart within the next few hours, because Israel's like, we're not going to give you guys any more food because you've kept none of your promises. And then all the aid companies like, oh my God, they're not giving food. So let this nightmare continue.